Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought provoking conversations. More than a year after the guns fell silent following Operation Sindoor, India and Pakistan are apparently talking again. London, Muscat, Bangkok, Doha, and now reportedly Colombo. A quiet circuit of Track 1.5 and Track 2 meetings has been steadily unfolding in the margins of the international conference rooms. Retired officials, former diplomats, strategic experts, and military officers from both sides have been meeting, conversing, and presumably sounding each other out. But the big question is that why is the Indian government denying? Is there any pressure to engage with Pakistan? So we'll try and decode this whole story as to why there is a need for bringing both India and Pakistan on a talking table. Who's doing that? Now, recently we saw about 117 citizens. They had written a joint letter to Prime Minister Modi and Shahbaz Sharif as well. But even then, the story looks incomplete because who is doing it, we do not know. And there is denial on the Indian side. So we'll try and understand this entire story, how it is unfolding internationally, and as well as the impact on domestic politics as well. Joining me this evening is Dr. Muqtedar Khan, the prominent Indian American academic, professor of political science and international relations at the University of Delaware. He has his own channel called Conversations, and that's quite a popular one. Thank you so much, Dr. Khan, for joining on HW News. And my first question to you, of course, is who is really pressurizing India and Pakistan to come on a talking table? Why there are a series of meetings? Meetings are happening, but there is denial as well at the same time.
Thank you very much for having me, Neelu, and to your audience, my salam and namaste. I think that one thing that we have to realize is that this has been going on for a while. So, for example, there are two other spots I think you forgot to mention. There was apparently a dialogue in Toronto and one in London. And the one in London was within a few months after Operation Sindoor. And that was 1.5, which means that some participant was an existing government employee. So India has been talking, and India has this Modi government has a very, shall we say, good track record of having these dialogues. Because if you remember, before Pahalgam, the Western Front was calm because there was a ceasefire that was negotiated between Ajit Doval and Bajwa, the General Bajwa of Pakistan, and it lasted for about 4-5 years, right? So this government has had a positive experience of military to national security dialogue. The another question is, why do we learn only now that there have been so many cases of track 1.5 and track 2.0?
No, but media also, Dr. Khan, if I may interrupt you, I don't think that the media widely reported these meetings, the track, the 1.5, track 1.5 meetings.
There was only one, I think, the first there's some first post did that in April, apparently, one which nobody paid attention to. But otherwise, there was not much chatter. So I think, and also let's not forget that India did play cricket in Dubai with Pakistan very quickly after. That should count as track 4 diplomacy anyway. But I think what has happened is the RSS visit to New Delhi, to Washington, D.C., Hasbole, he interacted with a lot of US governments. So there is a rumor going out there, which I can't confirm, that there was a lot of pressure put on him saying that, look, if you want to resuscitate your image, then you need to improve relations with Pakistan. And apparently the US government officials have said that.
And so the moment was this reported
this
in the
was not
media?
Reported. What happened was, as soon as he came back to India, he immediately called for a dialogue. with
Yeah.
Pakistan, and
Yes, he did.
with no justification as to why there is a change. And of course, unfortunately, the concept of a press conference is rapidly dying in India. So no one even asked him the question, or Mohan Bhagwat, like, why are you departing from Prime Minister Modi's policy? Because this is RSS moving into the government position, isn't it? So to me, that was very surprising when he did that. It is also very interesting that he himself described RSS as, people think of RSS as the KKK of India. And so now they want to change that image. And then this whole slew of things comes out. And what is also interesting about this track to diplomacy that is going on, track 1.5, is actually very pragmatic. So they're not coming out and saying, how should we solve the problem of the universe or Kashmir? Kashmir problem is
No,
bigger
no,
than the problem of the universe.
Dr. Khan, you were saying that it's a pragmatic approach.
Yes.
But pragmatism, along with the denial and those compulsions, why they cannot accept the fact that those meetings are happening, that
So,
is really a mystery. Is it
so
because of the political compulsions?
see, the thing is that I'm assuming that there is some source of pressure. The pressure is coming from somewhere on the Modi government to have a dialogue. And because they have talked so big, there can't be dialogue as well as terrorism at the same time, etc. They have talked a lot about it. They are struggling to walk that back, right? But the pressure is there for them to talk. It could be coming from RSS. RSS says that RSS global image is more important than Modi's domestic image. So back off. That could be the debate that's going. Or there's pressure from the Americans saying, like, we
No, but
want you to.
that's a very interesting take. You are saying that apparently RSS is moving away from what Modi thinks, and because they are more conscious about the global image of India. So,
No,
how in
no,
this
no.
situation?
It's more dangerous than that. RSS is trying to resuscitate its own global image because it wants to come out
Okay,
openly
okay,
in the
yeah.
West. And to do that, they have to say that, look, we are not a quasi military organization. They're trying to come across as if they are a philanthropic,
Right.
non-profit organization, like we are like Oxfam. That's what they're trying to say. But in order to do that, they have to, try to improve relations with Pakistan. But what is interesting is that if you notice that there has been no action which the Modi government has labeled as cross-border terrorism since Operation Sindoor. So the Delhi attack that happened, Modi's government was stuck. If they said this is Pakistan is responsible indirectly, then they would have to unpause Operation Sindoor and attack Pakistan, because they said that in future we will treat every attack as a direct attack and we will respond militarily. But if they didn't label it as a Pakistan inspired attack, then their theory that Kashmir is normalizing goes down the drain, because they had to label it as either domestic terrorism or cross-border terrorism. If it's cross-border terrorism, then they have to attack Pakistan. If it is domestic terrorism, that means Kashmir is not normalized. And they chose the other one. They did not blame Pakistan for the Delhi bombing, right? Why didn't they do that? And the reason is, first of all, the election was over. 20, they didn't need it at that moment. So I think that they realize that India's diplomacy after Operation Sindoor has flopped. This attempt to marginalize and isolate Pakistan has actually backfired, and the opposite has happened. Pakistan has become more central than India today, undoubtedly. Okay, so they are saying that, oh my God, and on top of that, if Pakistan is going to have good relations in the Gulf and with the US and with the Europeans now, if you remember when the vice president of EU went to Pakistan, her comments suggested that the relations between EU and Pakistan are much better today than they were last year. So I think the Indian government is kind of recalibrating its foreign policy, but it is kind of stuck in its own trap of using foreign policy for domestic politics, which puts constraint
Yes.
on what they can do, right? Like now, like Modi is not going to Tehran,
Yeah.
uh,
He's
and
not.
yeah, and that is a big mistake. Everybody thinks this is a huge mistake that he's making. They will remember that. And so this is, I think, an attempt. But you must remember, this is not the only one. There are several attempts that have now happened within the last 1 month. So we learn about Colombo and Bangkok happening. We learn about all the five things that the so-called dialogues that have taken place. The letter comes out, then pressure from RSS saying we should have this dialogue, and the rebuttals are not coming from high up, like Amit Shah and Modi are not rebutting. Some low-level BJP MPs are coming out and they are rehashing
No,
that.
but even MEA has denied. You saw Vikram Misri, the
And
foreign
his
secretary's
comment is
statement.
to say there is nothing official about it. That's what he's saying. We have not yeah, which is true, right? It is nothing official
He,
about.
he said he said that yes, these informal meetings are routine and they keep happening, but there's nothing official about it. There's no official dialogue between India and Pakistan.
So for your audience, let me tell you that there are like four levels of these dialogues that take place, okay, or five. One is the government to government, which is track one. Then you have track 1.5, where you have civil society people and government people both sitting there, right? Then you have track two, where you have no government, but retired military, retired diplomats, NGO people sitting there. So for example, when OP Shah was drafting the letter, they were having a dialogue, probably on WhatsApp, most probably, right? They have a WhatsApp group, all of them reading the drafts of the letter. I'm surprised that the letter is not yet public. So that is a 2.0 dialogue, right? And then you have 3.0, which is actually more powerful than 2.0, which is the business people. When business people get together, they can put pressure on the government and say, look, this is
So
billions
you're
of
saying that
dollars.
track three is only about the business engagement, where
No,
corporates and
when business people,
manufacturers,
yes.
right?
Like, so I don't know who's a billionaire in Pakistan, but if Ambani and Adani meet with two Pakistani billionaires and they decide that we are going to start some project together which is
But
worth 20
are you
billion
aware?
dollars.
Are you aware of any such track three meeting between India and Pakistan? I'm I'm
No.
I'm I'm, I'm yet
The
to
reason
see.
why I'm saying that is that if you notice that Elon Musk just bought a big Pakistani guy, became a billionaire, a young fellow,
Yeah.
because his project, but his partner is an Indian. And apparently, Ajit Doval's son's partner is also a Pakistani. So every day you are having a track three in Dubai when Ajit Doval's son meets his partner in the office, right? They probably have an office in the same
No, but can we
floor.
have a situation, Dr. Khan, where Adani or Ambani would be meeting their counterparts in Pakistan?
So unfortunately, they don't have counterparts in Pakistan. That's the problem, I think, right? So, like, for example, I was part of a couple of track three diplomacy when after 9/11, and these were, like, for example, Mercedes and BMW trying to open huge 200 dealerships in Iraq and the other Middle East, things like that. Now you're looking at a prospect of $20 billion, and suddenly you tell the government, look, this project is worth $20 billion to us. Imagine the tax revenue, etc. Then the government will jump. Like, for example, Pakistan doesn't have, say, a certain infrastructure, and then if they're willing to give that contract to Adani, I guarantee you that will be far more powerful than anything that OP Shah or even Manishankar Iyer can generate, right? So, and the fourth one is public, people to people, which happens all the time. Every time I go on Kamar Chima's show, that is a track four diplomacy. But I think what we need to see a bit more of is track three. And because the Pakistani elite is also, very business people, right? If you notice that Shehbaz Sharif's elder brother, Nawaz Sharif, is both a big farmer as well, landowner, as well as an industrialist, right? So there should be a lot of business to business. He could be having a dialogue with Adani and Ambani since he's not in an official position. So I think what is happening is India is trying to explore. Plus, there's actually a technical thing, which is with the Indus Water Treaty. So there was some noise coming out from the government saying that it's willing to do something on the Indus Water Treaty if Pakistan allows Indian planes to fly through Pakistan airspace. And that is more than, I think that suggestion has come from somewhere from the Indian government itself. Now, that is something where you can bounce that idea off in track 1.5. And if you get a yes from somebody, then you can then tell the government, look, I think the other side is interested in this.
Look,
Let's
Dr. Khan,
propose that.
if you compare both the countries' calculus, from the Pakistan calculus and from the Indian calculus, if you look at the things, I think Pakistan's calculus looks more straightforward because any movement towards the normalization, it offers Islamabad a package of tangible, immediate dividends. I mean, the revival of bilateral trade, a reduced military and economic burden from sustained confrontation. So, which is why do you think that India is reticent, it's reserved in its approach?
So, in the past, until this new wave of Pakistani popularity with Trump, before that, the Pakistanis always wanted a dialogue because India was trying to isolate them. But if India itself is engaging with them, then it completely undermines their marginalization, and they become central. Especially Imran Khan was quite keen on having a dialogue with India. It was India that didn't want to have like I guess Modi is still upset that after meeting with, he went to the BJP prime ministers have both gone to Pakistan, right? Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Modi also went surprise. And the Pakistanis did not reciprocate. Not only did they not reciprocate, they actually attacked India. And so I think Modi has not forgiven them in 10, 12 years for that. And I think that Pakistan should take responsibility for that. Someone needs to come out and actually say, we apologize or we regret what happened, that Kargil happened with Vajpayee, and then we have other several incidents with India. But I think that Pakistan is in a bind with the water issue, and so there is for them a genuine you could say geo-economic considerations for that. For India, it is diplomatic only at the moment. And if you notice that there is some Chinese geopolitician going around saying that if India blocks the Indus water, we will block it in China. And I don't think Chinese scholars are in the habit. Like, I can say whatever I want, whether Trump likes it or not, right? But I don't think if I was Chinese, I would be able to do that, especially if I lived in China. So, which means that there is some official okay for that kind of rhetoric coming out from one of the Chinese scholars. So, and I can tell you this much, that if blocking water to Pakistan creates genuine hardship, then it will not be seen favorably in Washington, and Trump will say something about it. He already said he's a killer. I mean, he starves people. He'll just add another sentence to Modi in the next time they meet together. But I think there is something going on, and that pressure is
No, but is this pressure only from the American side, Dr. Khan, or like what you said, that there's pressure from China as well, and which is why India is facing the heat and they feel the need to engage with Pakistan? Is this pressure from several quarters, not just from America?
so the Chinese support for Pakistan is non-negotiable. They are not going to back off, and they showed it during Operation Sindoor. So Wang Yi coming to India last month and saying we want to normalize, we see India as a partner, it comes as a package deal. In fact, if Indian see, the problem is for the last 3-4 years, the Ministry of External Affairs has stopped behaving like a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it is behaving like a publicity manager. Imagine how much time they are spending finding people who can dance on airports when Modi comes in Europe. I mean, this is like they have become a Nautanki company, literally, rather than a Ministry of External Affairs. So let me give you an idea which is not there. For example, India could have a package deal with China which normalizes relations with Bangladesh and Pakistan at the same time, right? If they deal with China, it automatically, Chinese will tell these guys, okay, just calm down, and they will calm down. I mean, there's a lot of interesting. By the way, there is a huge conference going on in Beijing today, a World Peace Conference, where very prominent Pakistanis are speaking, but not many Indians at the moment. So India needs to work on all these. These are all neighbors. These are all permanent neighbors, and we don't have good relations. I mean, the only good relations that Hindu
No,
Rashtra
but
has is with the
are there
Taliban.
any efforts? What is your sense, Dr. Khan? Are there actually any efforts going on to improve their relations with the neighboring countries? Forget Pakistan for a moment, but look at what's happening with the other countries all around. Are there
Look,
any efforts to bring back the old relationship?
so I did a show just about 6-7 days ago making an argument that there should be a dialogue. Uh, and a lot of people who were commenting were saying, "Oh, it's because of Islam, and so that is Islam is the problem, and so we can't have a dialogue." But Islam is not the issue between India and Nepal. The only two Hindu countries on earth are not friendly right now. And if you talk to these small countries, like if you talk to people off the record from Bangladesh, from Nepal, and I have spoken to people who have been both in government and outside government, and they tell me bluntly that India bullies them. They feel bullied by India, these small countries. I was in Colombo last year, and if you remember, in January, I spent a week there, and there were lots of people there saying very clearly that India bullies us. And of course, they are also, what is interesting is they don't use the same word with China. They don't say that China is bullying us as they say that India is bullying. So I think there is an element of arrogance, particularly in this government. Like, for example, when Modi went to Bangladesh, they demanded beforehand that certain temples should be fixed and repaired for Modi to come, right? For these small countries, India's prime minister coming is a big diplomatic. Like, who goes to Seychelles? Like, who goes? Like, if America will, they're not even going to send the number 3 person in the State Department to go to Seychelles, right? Modi goes, they invent an award to give it to him. There was no such
By
award
the way, you
beforehand.
just reminded me. You since you spoke about Seychelles, I was just seeing an article in Guardian today, which very categorically has actually lambasted Modi for the kind of awards which he goes and takes, and that is the kind of take which Guardian has written, that you give him an award and he'll come running. That is
Of
what the
course,
title
of course,
says.
of course. I actually said this in a speech in Rome. I was giving a talk at a university. It was a 3-hour lecture, and halfway through it was stopped. And I thought that, oh my God, I think somebody's protesting. And I was told that an advisor to Meloni was in the university. I didn't realize that the talk was being broadcast all over the university. So it was on CCTV. So I met the guy, and I told him very bluntly, I said, I pointed, I said, just take some metal piece that's lying around and say, this is some award, give it to him. He will come and then double or triple the price of whatever they are buying. They will pay, India will pay double, triple for Modi to get an award. Why? Who cares about Slovenia's awards? Tell me this. Okay, it's also called double cross, by the way, which is quite interesting about it. The Israeli award, there is no such
No,
award.
but were you able to find out the mystery behind this Blue Horizon Award at
No,
Seychelles?
it
People
was
say that
nothing.
it didn't
It was,
exist.
it doesn't exist. Not only that, the Israeli award also doesn't exist. The award given by the speaker there's a president's award, which every American president has got from Israel. They didn't give him the official
But
award.
what is
They
it?
gave
Like,
him a
whenever Modi goes to a country, do they tailor make or do they customize these awards for Prime Minister Modi? How
demanding
does
it.
it happen?
I think the Ministry of External Affairs is demanding it. And so for Israel, it was already feeling that it is getting isolated because of the Gaza genocide. They're getting one of the biggest countries on earth to come, biggest population country. If someone tells Israel you're isolated, he will laugh at you and say, what are you talking? 1.5 billion in India are ready to die for me. That's going to be his immediate answer. Look, Modi comes here when nobody comes here, right? Even Trump has not gone to Israel, but he went actually once. But what is interesting is that I think the Ministry of External Affairs is spending all its time doing this. So and where there are no awards, they are helping them create. You saw that spelling error mistake with the Seychelles award, right? They
Right.
misspelled Seychelles. How can the Seychelles
Seychelles and Republic both.
both were
Republic and
misspelled? I
Seychelles,
can
yeah.
understand them misspelling Republic, but like it's like saying people in India misspelling Bharat in Bharat Ratna, right? But if you go back and look at the Wikipedia pages of the Israeli award as well as the award in Seychelles, nobody got it before, and I guarantee you nobody is going to get it afterwards either. This was only created for Modi, and this is only created to shore up his domestic. And now he's going again to New Zealand, and now he's become like. I feel very sad for Dr. Jaishankar because Dr. Jaishankar's job has been taken over by Modi. He's handed over running of India to
But there
Amit
are
Shah.
questions Dr. Khan raised that, there's so much of crisis back home in India, whether it is the NEET paper leak, whether it is the CBSE exam mess, and now the Ram Temple donation loot, all that is happening. But every week it seems, or every 10 days or 15 days, Prime Minister Modi seen traveling abroad. And the worst part is that those announcements don't come from the MEA side. Today also, Christopher Luxon, who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand, he's the one to announce that Prime Minister Modi is coming to their country on 10 July. Why is MEA not announcing it?
That I can't answer that question, because what is happening is that like, why is he going to New Zealand to sign the? Is he there to just to sign the bilateral trade agreement,
No,
perhaps?
the official thing which has come out is that we will be signing the free trade
Yeah.
agreement, and
No, it's a
that's
bilateral.
what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a bilateral. It's
bilateral.
not a free trade
Yeah,
agreement.
yeah,
India is not opening its agriculture.
yeah,
New
yeah,
Zealand's biggest export is
yeah.
agriculture. So you can imagine how marginal it is to both the economies, right? But the thing for these countries are that I think, okay, if you look at some of the YouTube channels, he slapped him hard. This is the kind of language they use in India. So there is all this drama about diplomacy. Yesterday, C. Rajamohan, who is a very prominent Indian foreign policy expert, wrote an article basically saying India is so emotional about its. Basically, his recommendation was India has become a drama queen when it comes to foreign policy. And I think that is Jaishankar's achievement, that he made what you call geopolitics like IPL. Right? People are watching it like a sport, and they
That's
are.
a good phrase. I mean, and quite an interesting one.
Yeah. So what is happening is random people who don't understand anything about foreign policy or anything, they are thrilled because they are getting to see these clips where Jaishankar makes a dialogue, like a movie dialogue, and it's often sometimes even taken out of context, and it is sent all over, and so they think it's a major victory for India, prove that India is. The criticism of Pakistan is that, look, you become popular. That doesn't mean that your people are eating well and sleeping well. Right? It has had no impact on Pakistan's economic situation or well-being. They just become diplomatically significant. That is all. And the same thing can, to some extent, apply to India too. Just because Modi goes to all these countries, it doesn't mean that your son is getting a job. Okay, he's 35, driving Uber, and still living in your house with a master's in computer science, right? That is the crisis in India, and it's going to become bigger and bigger. And there's no discussion about it, right? As to like, how are we going to deal with this? And now that I talk a lot to the economists, it's becoming very clear that this talk of 6%, 7% growth rate is fake. Let me give you a simple example. A year ago, India was talking a lot about being the fourth biggest economy. If you remember, even Modi was talking about it, and everybody was talking about it. And then in the last 1 year, India grew by
So that
seven.
has receded. Yeah.
No, but listen, India grew by 7%. Britain and Japan grew by 1%. So it's like saying you're driving at 70 miles per hour. I'm driving at 10 miles per hour. You are ahead of me, and then I end up overtaking you. How is that? How did Japan and UK go ahead and India become six if India is growing faster than them? Because there is something funny about the data. The data is not valid. And I think the most
No,
important
but what
figure.
does one do? Because the moment you raise questions about the authenticity of the data, immediately there is a rebuttal, there is a dismissal. Oh, we dismiss this data. There is some agenda behind the international forces if they are speaking like this. I mean, look at for that matter, look at any international report and look at the way it's trashed by the Modi government.
So for example, I can tell you this much, that the number that people should be talking about is called median income, not even average. GDP is irrelevant. If Adani makes $500 billion tomorrow, the GDP of India and per capita both will go up. That doesn't mean, Neelu, that you're making more money, right? It just means that your average looks high. So what we need to know is, what is the median? Median income is, if you say, like, the median income of India right now is 9,000 rupees, which is half of India makes less than 9,000 rupees per month. And half of it makes more than 9,000 rupees per month. So half of India is making $100 per month, which is $1,200. That is far less than the GDP of India. Has that changed? That is the question that people should ask. Is that changing? Is your salaries going up? The top maybe 10% or less of India is doing phenomenally well because of foreign money coming. US, most of it is connected to IT and domestic services. If you're running a restaurant or some business, you're making money. But the other 125 crores are not doing well at all, and their situation is gone. That is why you have so much
Taking you
social.
away slightly from economics, like what we are
Yeah.
talking about, that will the Jay Shankar, or for that matter, Prime Minister Modi, ever realize the mistake of mixing foreign policy with domestic politics? And that's where they have goofed up big time. Will there be a realization? Will they change their track? Will they try to go back to the older days where diplomacy was more sort of a, a formal affair, where things had to be done in a particular manner according to certain protocols and conventions? Do you think that ever that realization will come?
So the problem is that I think they don't care about that. To them, the foreign policy has been very successful because they're winning elections at home, right? 2019 was a straight up victory because of Pulwama. There's no doubt about it, right? And and by the way, the BJP has never got 40% of the vote share. Well,
No, but
still,
no,
but
but
they're
Dr.
still
Khan,
winning.
now the dynamics have changed. Now, can they go against Pakistan like this with the kind of proximity which Pakistan enjoys with Donald Trump?
No, but they can go against Bangladesh or Nepal or somewhere else, or Modi can keep traveling and collecting awards and say, I am the guy who has 80 awards. No one else has those 80 awards. That is enough. Like, if you listen to people who support him, like I've seen young people, they say, why do you support BJP? Is because, oh, he has done great things. And like what? Beyond Ram Mandir, they are not able to quote any example of what, right? So I think that this Hindu Muslim stuff and foreign policy exaggeration of these achievements are his way of keeping the people. So as long as it is being used for electoral purposes, it is successful, and there is no need to change. And the bubble of the India story has gone. It's very clear. No, even the Indians who used to talk about it are not talking about it. If you go back and look at Samit Saran, the guy, the president of ORF, oh my God, I have to tell him when I meet him, I will tell him that I sometimes chat with him on email, etc. He used to talk about when India becomes $10 billion, $10 trillion economy. Are yaar, pehle to just get to five first, right? You've been going since 1919. You're talking about $5 trillion. You have not reached there, but you're talking as if you're already $10 trillion. This was assumed that India is suddenly going to overtake, and that kind of rhetoric was translating into the public mind as if US is nothing, US is indebted, it's a country like the US is projecting power like nobody's business all over in every damn thing. Yesterday, he nearly told NATO how, Trump's proclamation about NATO was so disastrous 3 days before the NATO summit in Turkey. But this assumption that we have overtaken the world is something that they have sold to the public, and we are responsible that we have become the greatest nation on earth, and people
Vishwaguru,
actually
the
seem to
Vishwaguru.
believe.
We are
Yeah,
Vishwaguru.
like people don't understand. Like I sometimes engage with, like people come and say this is Amrit Kal. So why would a true Hindu leave a Hindu nation in its golden age to go and live in racist countries and wash his own dishes and wash, and vacuum his own house, right? But the Indians are going anywhere and everywhere. It appears that they would rather live anywhere else than this is also family members of the BJP leaders, by the way, right? So the question really is that it should have been the other way around. I had students from Tunisia who were doing their PhD, and when Tunisia had its Jasmine Revolution, they dropped everything and ran back home because they thought that the future would be great, and so they put their feet where their heart was and went back home. That's not happening in India. People are still running away from India, and that is something that people are not able. So there's a cognitive dissonance there, isn't it? If this is a great period in our history, then why are we running? Why am I not trying to come back to India? That's the question you need to answer, right? And that is something that no one is asking the question. It's such a great time to go. Yesterday, I forget her name. What is her name? Who was the CEO of PepsiCo? This first
Indra
Indian,
Nui. Indra Nui.
Indra Nooyi. Yesterday, she made such. She didn't realize it, that a lot of her comments were very condescending about India being chaotic. There's cows on the streets. Oh my God! I said, why say cows? She could have said cattle, but she had to say cow. Saying that guards all over the street and ending the traffic. You just have to find a way to go around it. So she made very condescending comments, and she also said that she would never have become a CEO if she was in India, and that is the more indictment that she made of India. So I think that is, you want to distract from all of that, and from distracting from all of that is like, why would you be thrilled to go to Seychelles? You know what the population of Seychelles is, right? It is less than the number of people that fit into the Ahmedabad cricket stadium. Seychelles population is 120,000. 1.5 lakh people can fit into the Ahmedabad Modi Stadium. Can you imagine going to a country of that size and pretending that it is a major achievement, that they have given you some award that they cooked up just last week? So, but it tells you how dumbed down the Vishwa Gurus of the population are. I mean, if you are smart, like when I was telling this on a show, the guy who was listening to me was stunned. I said, why didn't you first just read the Wikipedia page of Seychelles? Like, you don't even want to know where he's going. Like, the first thing I did was to check its population, and I said, oh my God, this is such a tiny. I also checked the Hindu population of Seychelles, which is just 5%. 5.4% population, and the Indian population is about 9%. The rest are Christians and Muslims. So it's not as if he's going to a major country like Mauritius, for example, which is 40% Hindu. So I really don't. It just seems that that was a country willing to accommodate him, and this is not something new. He went to Fiji, I think, where he got the prime minister of Fiji to touch Modi's feet. If you remember, the poor guy probably doesn't understand what he was doing. They told him, and the gifts that Modi took for Seychelles are worth 75 million. So remember that award has cost India a lot of money, and for 75 million, if he's going to give $75 million to Delaware, I will give him an award myself. Right? So yeah, we are just 1 million small state.
That's quite an interesting conversation we are having. One last question before I wind up the show. A lot of viewers have got glued into our conversation. Dr. Khan, the people who are saying that because of Donald Trump's pressure, India and Pakistan apparently are beginning to realize that they need to engage in talks. Certain sections and the geopolitical experts say, and this is like something futuristic, that can Trump put pressure on India and Pakistan to even resolve the Kashmir crisis, the real problem between India and Pakistan? Can he go to that extent?
Look, if the Kashmir problem is solved, two people will die. One is the Pakistani army. There will be no justification to fund it at the level that they are funding. They can spend money on education, healthcare, population control, etc. That is so the army has no incentive to resolve that issue. And if India-Pakistan relations become good, then India will have to invent another Muslim enemy, because they hide behind hatred of Pakistan to kind of, sugarcoat hatred of Muslims very clearly. And we thought that they're not going to win elections. If tomorrow Hindu-Muslim problem disappears from India, then BJP and RSS both will disappear. They're the only one reason. See, it is very easy for me to be a Muslim publicly by saying, I am critical of Israel, I'm critical of Hindu nationalism, etc. But it's very difficult for me to be a good Muslim by getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning in the winter, doing wudu, praying, and then fasting, and then being nice, and then giving charity every year, which are required things, right? So this positive, proactive way of being a Hindu is not promoted. You're a good Hindu if you hate Muslims. You're even a better Hindu if you beat them up, right? So, but there are lots of things you want to realize what is Vasudeva Kutumbakum. It's like love thy neighbor, right? That's the best way, like love thy neighbor. So Muslims are your neighbor, love them. But no, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to act on your own religious values. It's like someone was saying, who went viral saying that I have no problem with chanda chori, like in Ram Mandir.
Yeah.
Uh, it's such a sad. I feel so sad for Hindu temples that even when the Mughals are dead and gone, they are still being robbed. 300 years after the death of Aurangzeb, Hindu temples are still being pilfered, but the feeling that it's okay because it's our people who are robbing and the things, that tells you that they're not interested about Hindu values,
No,
right?
the joke is that it's going from one Hindu to the other.
Yeah, but it is not. Their concern is that there's a decline of Hindu values, Satya meva jayate, truth, etc. There's nobody is lamenting the loss of Hindu values, because today Hindutva is not about Hindu values. Hindutva is about demonizing minorities, etc. So I think that as long as those things are happening, the Kashmir issue will not be resolved. If Trump tries that, first let him deal with the ceasefire in Gaza and Iran. But what could bring Trump to the table is the Indus Water Treaty. And if it starts causing some kind of humanitarian crisis in Pakistan, then
Then
he
he
will
will.
move in. And that could be his way of getting the Nobel Prize, by just
Yeah.
restoring the Indus Water Treaty, right? By just
I'm just dreading what happens when Prime Minister Modi, I think he's supposed to travel to America, or Trump is supposed to come to
no,
America.
he's going to come here for the G20 or G7, right?
Yeah.
So he's supposed to come to the US sometime in
Right.
September. And that is going to be, I don't know whether before or after Xi Jinping comes. So the contrast will also be very difficult, right? If Xi Jinping is received very well. I mean, remember, the first person Trump invited for his inauguration was Xi Jinping. Modi was never invited. Yeah.
Well, interesting times ahead, though the India story, as you are saying, and I'm quoting you, that the India story looks over as far as the foreign policy is concerned. But I'm sure many interesting episodes will be coming up. And Dr. Khan, I'll come back to you again for a lovely conversation like this. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.